Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about honestly another unique X-Men member that is culturally black as well too when it comes to cultural backgrounds. His name is Nazhuno, aka Gentle. Most of his classmates from the Xavier Institute call him Gentle for short though. And I don't blame him because by the end of the day, one, his name is kind of hard to pronounce. But aside from, pronunciation, it's also just the fact that honestly, his name Neshuno does legit mean gentle as well too. That or dearly. I have looked up the word, it does mean that. But aside from that, let's get deeper into his character. Now, what I learned about Netsuno is this. I will first talk about honestly his powers that I knew beforehand when I looked deeper into like more of his backgrounds. What I knew about his powers is one, he has super strength or just immense powerful strength. And his strength is very comparable to another X member that's legit really known in the X universe, especially maybe towards like certain go hard fans that know a lot about X-Men. Different, I guess, what's the word? Different members of the X-Men, and this X member name is Strong Guy. Literally, his nickname or his name in the team is Strong Guy. He's not per se in the Xavier Institute, but he is honestly a part of X Force, and he's always been like one of those founding fathers or the founding members of the X Force altogether. Aside from those facts, this is how honestly Gentle's power and Strong Guy's power is similar, but there are also differences when I have looked into Gentle's backgrounds. For one, let's get into similarities. Both powers are super strength. It meant super strength. Now, how they both work is like this. Strong guys, I'm just going to go through Strong Guy first because his is a little bit more simple to understand and like depict before talking about Gentle's abilities. Strong Guy's ability works like this. Basically, he can absorb like kinetic energy or like force that's applied against to him and like shoot it back by punching someone or kicking someone, doing physical actions that honestly makes a burst of strong energy. That's why if I had to make like the same reference real quick to this one storyline, the World Breaker Hulk storyline, Strong Guy did try to go up against like World Breaker Hulk 1v1, and honestly he was actually one of the X-Men that could go toe to toe possibly with World Breaker. The only sad part is when it comes to like him versus World Breaker Hulk, like an opponent like him, he can't per se stay in the fight long, like in a long period of time. The only reason why is because it's not because he has insufficient strength or anything. No, it's more because of the fact that his, like, I guess Achilles heel or cons to his power, strong guys basically. His Achilles heel is basically he can get stronger and stronger by absorbing like kinetic energy and or force against him. But the bad thing is if he doesn't let those like I guess blows or forces of energy come out by punching or kicking or doing anything to try and get out the energy, then his heart will fail him and honestly he could go into a heart attack or just long story short, the heart will just break down altogether if he uses his super strength ability too much. And it has occurred honestly once and then he came back to life one way or the other. But other than that, yeah, that's that strong guy. Now Gentle's like powers and how it's honestly similar is it works the same way. The big difference is honestly the fact of Gentle literally, just like in his name, he's technically like a glass cannon in a sense, and let me explain why. The only reason why he's like a glass cannon is because of the fact of he can shoot out like kinetic strength and force just as much as Strong Guy could and absorb it. But the bad thing is he can't absorb too much of it or even take on that much like damage at all because the way his body is, along with his like X gene abilities, honestly, his body can't take on a whole lot of force or impacts, just like Strong Guy. If anything, his body will fail him or he could get critically damaged one way or the other. Like, if I had to make like a reference, let me think. It's kind of like X-23's like villain or rival whose ability is basically she's indestructible, but the thing is even though she's indestructible, if you do certain things to try and beat her or kill her, honestly she can get taken out in different ways. And let me explain how. Honestly, um in this one storyline when X-23 went up against her, yes, again, she was indestructible and she can take any type of attack. But the thing is, there was one situation where X-23 and her opponent was around water, and she legit suffocated her in the water just to try and defeat her in a 1v1 fight that was like down to the death and etc. And she won by doing that. It's similar to Gentle's ability if I had to like compare contrast Strong Guy and his abilities. It's like, yes, you can take on damage, but you can't take on critical damage, especially if it's like critical damage to the point where that's literally your legit Achilles heel. Now, honestly, looking deeper into like his power set, he does make up for his like I guess weaknesses by honestly utilizing his lineage of black culture, and this is the good part comes in. His culture is not only like black origins, but it's also the fact of he's a Wakandan. He actually comes from Wakanda. And on top of that, honestly, just like in the thumbnail, if you see in the thumbnail with like his character design, what he makes up for his power and weaknesses wise, he uses unique like Wakandan technology, mainly vibranium like tattoos, put it around his body so when his power is activated, he can honestly take on any type of impact or force one way or the other. It does not matter how strong or how like deadly it is. He can actually still take on the blunt force of any type of attack. And honestly, it's very similar to like Black Panther when honestly Black Panther uses his suit in any type of situation, especially in the Black Panther movie, because long story short, T'Challa did honestly explain in the movie that his new suit, honestly, as the movie went on, vibranium can absorb any type of force impact and honestly deflect it back as well too, which honestly is another thing I would like to say helps Gentle fight as well too efficiently. Now, honestly, this is where I would like to point out more about his background and how he's so like legit unique to me as an X-Men and really like interesting as a character. One is not only just the fact that he's honestly a second Wakandan because we always known that Storm is a Wakandan herself because she resided from Wakanda and on top of that she married T'Challa as well too in comics. But aside from all that, another thing I like to talk about when it comes to Gentle of being Wakandan descent is because of the fact of, well, this is going to be a wild out type of I guess storyline with him, and what I've learned about his like origin or lineage when it comes to his personal family. Okay, so his mom is Wakandan, aka Black, but his father, I honestly like when I researched, his father is Russian, and somehow they had this child, and that's Gentle. But aside from all that, when it comes to like his background and what I've learned more about him and his lineage, especially in Wakandan territory, most people of Wakandan descent, especially just people in general of Wakanda, they always look down upon Gentle for being like mixed. And honestly, that's another like subtopic that I like to point out in this video would be just him being an X member would be just effective. He's mixed. I mean, yes, there are most likely other X members that are mixed, whether it be different species slash like different type of racial categories within them. But at the same time, this is still like a black character that's mixed with another culture altogether, and you're also in Africa slash Wakanda. So honestly, it's pretty much sad when you think about it when it comes to his hardships of being an X-Men, because he not only had to go through the fact of when his X genes got turned on or activated and his powers like manifested, but also he had to went through the fact that he's basically half black and half white, long story short. And again, a lot of Wakandans just look down on Gentle for those particular reasons, which is kind of strange because honestly, to me personally, Storm, honestly, even though she's like the goddess of Wakanda slash Africa itself, it's still the fact that she was like a mutant as well too. So I'm thinking like, why y'all gotta look down on him or give? Why does him being a mutant have to give like more people more excuse as to looking down upon him? And aside from that, honestly, this as a topic when it comes being mixed, it's a sad and tragic thing to me, I feel, because by the end of the day, like aside from like X-Men in general going through a whole bunch of hardships being black slash mutant one way or the other, it's also the fact that honestly back in history, it's hard for certain individuals to live their own lives because of like I would like to say I guess biological makeup backgrounds if I had to bring up the whole fact of being mixed, because back then either you would be called like honestly a puppy or some type of derogatory term for a mud pup or something like that for being mixed, a derogatory term like that. And on top of that, it's always been frowned upon to being mixed because, well, especially for certain, I'm not going to say anything, but like certain people in this world, especially in America, they look down upon, mixing races and etc. Even though that they have done many acts that made it occur, they still frown upon, honestly, just having mixed children, and on top of that, interracial like marriages and anything else interracial altogether. So I guess in a way, looking into it and also thinking deep into Gentle's background, culturally, along with him and his biological makeup, is pretty dang sad. Long story short. Honestly, another thing I like to talk about when it comes to Gentle would be just the fact of his character and personality. Character and personality, I would like to say that just like his name, Gentle, he's more of a chill type of ex member, and he honestly is always to himself and always quiet most of the time. He doesn't like to cause trouble. He's friendly, but he doesn't like to cause trouble nor get into fights. In his research, when I looked him up as a character, I have heard and also read that honestly he was dragged in the hell with certain X members. Most likely, I think it was the New Mutants because when reading into his background story about this event, he had to help his classmates save one other X member named Pixie, and that's why I assumably thought that it must be the New Mutants because Pixie as X member, she honestly goes under more of the New Mutants versus just, like the original like OG mutants or any other team like Excalibur to X Force, etc. So he had to step in to help her, and that's around that storyline. That's when other X members kind of knew more of his character. Now, how he ended up in the Xavier Institute from Wakanda, just to explain myself, when it comes to honestly looking into his backgrounds, again, honestly, I would like to say it was around the time when honestly T'Challa and Storm married each other, and Storm honestly somehow noticed him as a mutant or just someone being different. And that's around that time before I guess the marriage got annulled or whatever or dissolved. Honestly, that's when Storm honestly gave the proper advice to T'Challa. Why don't you send Gentle to the Xavier Institute? Because around that institution, he not only learns more about himself and learns more about his abilities, but he can also be around people just like him and honestly just be himself more a little bit and learn to love himself more, just like other mutants, especially certain mutants that has their own like honestly what's the word have their own troubles and just difficulty just accepting the fact that they're mutant or having abilities, kind of similar to when I talked about Oya as another black cultural based character as well too, a part of the X Men as well too. If I were to say the time around the timeline when it comes to when he was dropped, honestly, all I can say is besides dates slash year, it will be around the time when, again, post timeline around the House of M situation, and that's when honestly Gentle was dropped as a character into the comics. But thank you for watching it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Please leave comments on what your thoughts are about this character, and please subscribe if you enjoyed this video and my other videos. Thank you and bye.